Hello, welcome to another First Chapter Friday. I have two zombie books that I'm going to be reading today. One I just discovered and I have not read it all the way through, and it is a choose your own destiny type of story. That is Can You Survive the Zombie Apocalypse by Max Brallier. All right, I'm going to read enough of it to kind of get you hooked and then see if you enjoy it. I was definitely on the bandwagon years ago for Walking Dead, and I used to watch The Talking Dead and even came up with a series that was called Read, Rant, Repeat that was influenced by the Talking Dead show. I just loved how there was a show there's such a fandom for Walking Dead that they made another show about that fandom. And yeah, here we go. So, can you survive the zombie apocalypse? They have a couple acknowledgments and they mention a couple of the really famous zombie movies. And the first chapter, I don't know, it says, it begins. Okay. Will this ever end? These Monday morning meetings always run long, every damn time. God, in the history of man, has a morning meeting ever not run long? As usual, you overslept, missed the subway, and arrived 10 minutes late to work. So you missed the Krispy Kremes and one of the good chairs. Now you're stuck in a tiny little plastic thing you're pretty sure you can hear bending underneath your weight. Or maybe that's the sound of your stomach aching for the donut. Your head is still hurting from Saturday night. Can't drink like you used to. College days. Drink, puke, sleep, drink, puke. Sleep, drink, puke, sleep, watch some basketball, drink, puke, sleep, rinse, repeat. Graduate 3 semesters late. Good times, but you're a grown man now. An adult. An adult stuck in a miserable morning meeting with no Krispy Kreme. All you can think about is 5 o'clock and getting home, being enveloped by your well-worn but pretty darn comfortable, if you don't say so yourself, Craigslist couch, ordering some Chinese, sweet and sour chicken, sauce on the side, fried rice, and an egg roll. Watching some Seinfeld. Good stuff. Oh, yes, to be home. You pull out your phone, 10:40 a.m. Sigh, 7 more hours to... Suddenly, violently, Angela, the cute brunette receptionist, bursts through a set of double doors and explodes into the conference room. Everyone turns. Someone giggles. Confused looks all around. Eyes wide. Angela stands in the doorway, silent for a moment, and then, sorry to interrupt, but I think you need to turn the TV on. Matthew Tripuck, head of marketing, glares from his usual spot at the head of the long conference table. Cool and condescending. Angela, you're interrupting. Prick. That poor girl just ran in here looking like she was going to wet herself. She must have a decent reason. Angela ignores the big boss's dirty look and runs the length of the long conference room to the fat old Mitsubishi TV in the corner, a leftover from the pre-PowerPoint days. The oversized TV sits on a banged-up TV cart. You're pretty sure your middle school has the same one. Someone asks Angela to explain. She doesn't say anything. She just continues to work on the TV. A woman at the end of the table, you recognize her from around the office, but you don't know her name, gets up and hurries out of the conference room. A few people follow her, heading for their computers to check CNN.com or MSNBC.com or whatever their news site of choice is. You think terrorists. So does everyone else, most likely. You picture the word terrorist bouncing around their collective coffee-fueled brains, along with images of explosions and crumbling buildings and out-of-control beards. The TV hums to life. One of the local news guys sits at a desk. Again, we don't want to alarm you unnecessarily, but our early reports say that these patients are exhibiting bizarre, radical, and even violent behavior. The broadcast cuts to an aerial view of Mount Sinai Hospital. You know Mount Sinai. It's 20 blocks north and a few avenues east from your office. Went there a few years back when you had a hangnail that got infected, and your mom convinced you were about 2 days away from needing a full hand and possibly arm amputation. Now, a shot from the ground, a pretty blonde reporter, clearly not ready to be on live TV. A mass of ambulances, cop cars, fire engines, and workers stretched out behind and around her. The flashing red and blue lights strobe across her young, makeup-slathered face. You can make out the hospital about 100 yards in the distance. She reports, "Are we on? I'm on. Yes, we've just received word that the patients are rioting inside the hospital. At this moment, it's still not clear what the cause of the violence is, or how, or even if the hospital employees may be involved. Of course, any news we get will pass on along immediately." Again, for those of you just turning in, you're looking at Mount Sinai Hospital, where violence has reportedly broken out among a number of patients and possibly hospital staff. An aerial shot now. A dozen police cars have formed a semicircle around the main emergency room entrance. More are arriving. The big sliding doors beneath the emergency sign slide open, and out stumbles a young doctor, bleeding from his face, neck, and shoulder. Blood pumps from his wounds, spilling out onto his scrubs. He takes a few shaky steps before collapsing onto the little green Mount Sinai carpet that lies in front of the door. The office is silent for a split second, and then a flurry of "oh my gods" and "Jesus" and "oh, what the WTF." The woman sitting next to you grabs you on your arm. It's weird. The doctor begins convulsing. Blood streams onto the sidewalk that pulls at the curb. And then seemingly out of nowhere, a female patient in a hospital gown bursts out from the ER, and she dives on top of him. The entire conference room gasps. The patient is biting the doctor. No, not just biting. Eating him. Devouring the guy. Tearing into his flesh with her teeth and hands. Clawing at his body, ripping the skin from his limbs, and she tosses her head back to chew, and stringy flesh hangs from her teeth. The screen goes black. For a second, no one says a word. No one is quite able to process what he or she is seeing. And then a large woman, copy editing department, you think, explodes into tears, hands cupped over her face, and rushes out of the room. More follow her, reaching for cell phones as they squeeze past one another and out into the hall. The TV picture returns. Shakily, the pretty blonde reporter clutches the microphone, talking, but there's no sound. There's action in the distance, something happening, all sorts of movement. A mass of people begins to fill the screen behind her. What's happening? Rioting? Maybe. 30 people. No, more like 50. Hospital workers, it looks like. And cops and firefighters running from something. No, they're charging, and oh Christ, what is wrong with these people? Their faces are albino white, twisted and possessed. Splashes of blood on all of them. Some are drenched. The reporter, oblivious to the chaos behind her, she continues to report. The cameraman sees what's coming. The screen flashes and the camera falls to the ground, still broadcasting. All you see now is feet, some shuffling, some running, and then suddenly a sickening close-up of the reporter's twisted face and neck as she hits the cement. Something pounces on her. That pretty blonde hair. It's torn from her scalp. Teeth dig in. Behind her, the mob continues moving. A heavy work boot tramples the reporter's face, and you see her head partially implode. More follow, hundreds. Some stumble forward, others run, awkward but quick. Finally, the camera is kicked. It spins wildly, and the broadcast cuts out. Panic sets in all around you. Chairs hit the floor. A woman screams in pain as a man, quick to exit, spills his hot coffee on her lap, crying. The conference room empties, your co-workers running for their phones and their computers, desperate for news, desperate to get in touch with their loved ones. You sit in your stupid, uncomfortable chair, stunned, unable to move. Words dance around your brain long enough with images from comics and movies, and then finally you blurt out, to no one in particular, zombies. Zombies. Zombies! The living effing dead! You can't believe it. You don't believe it. You GD won't believe it. But you saw it. Right there on TV. Have to get up. Have to move. You don't trust your legs to hold your body if you stand. For a long moment, you just sit there still. Sweat gathers on your brow. A drop crawls down your forehead and along your cheek. Finally, you force yourself to stand. You're relieved when you don't fall to the floor, and you head for your cubicle. You get to your computer and you start typing. Hands are shaking. You're hitting all the wrong keys, and you feel weak, and you realize you're not breathing. You remind yourself, breathe. You sit down and you breathe in and out and calm yourself. You bring up the drudgereport.com and you see the red siren, never a good sign. Above in giant letters is the headline, Zombies Take Manhattan? A number of smaller links sits below. Walking Dead, Running Dead, avian bird flu in New York City developing, 911 reports claiming of the dead returning to life, huge horror hoax, Manhattan under siege developing. JC, you have got to get the heck out of Manhattan ASAP. You jog to the elevators. The hallway is packed, and after the fourth or fifth time the doors open to a full car, you say, F it. You hoof it. You're on the 15th floor. The stairs aren't much better. Dozens of people running down. Someone trips and catches herself and smacks face first into the wall. She's knocked out cold, and you and the others step over her as you continue your descent. The fire alarm screams impossibly loud along with the flashing white lights. Someone must have opened the emergency doors. You take the stairs 2 at a time, going over it all in your head, trying to figure out where to go when you hit the street. $1,000,000 question. You finally get to the ground floor. Co-workers flood past you out the revolving doors. Didn't know they could spin that fast. You nearly lose a hand, pulling it back just in time. You and 2 other guys squeeze into one slot, you being the meat in the sandwich, and a split second later, you're spit out onto the 84th Street on the west side, a street you've been on 100 times over the course of your short career. But this time, it is unrecognizable. The streets are packed, loud, car horns blast, people yell angry, violent screams, and more. It's hot, stinking hot and humid. Air so thick you could cut it with a knife. A New York City July, you think while you sweat. And now for the choices. If you think your best chance of getting out of the city is via taxi, turn to page 204. If you want to jog the 12 blocks and 2 avenues to the 72nd Street subway and catch the next train to Brooklyn, turn to page 205. If you want to get back to your apartment ASAP, turn to page 22. Which one do you think I'm going to choose? I'm going home. I don't even know if he has any family at home, but that's the place I want to go first. So this is a book that it is actually putting you into the world of The Walking Dead. And I can't wait to find out if I would survive. I will let you know later on in my description after I finish reading all the paths that it takes me on. I've already gone into the apartment and I've decided after I've been in the apartment that I need to get supplies, and that's as far as I've gotten so far. So wish me luck that I survive the apocalypse, and take care everyone. Hope you try this book out. It seems really fun. Of course, a bit of language and gore, but you already knew that. Okay, thanks. Bye.